As we know, the wellness world can be overwhelming, especially with so much conflicting advice. It's sometimes hard to know what to do.
That's why we have our resident wellness contributor, Kyle Buchanan, to answer your questions on another round of the Kyle Files. All right, Kyle.
Good morning, you two.
Good morning. Our first question comes from Denise in Kelowna, BC. She wants to know, is there any weight behind honey being good for seasonal allergies?
Great question, common question, because we're curious. And it is sort of mixed. There's not a ton of research backing honey's effect on allergies, but honey's also a food that doesn't have, the money like pharmaceuticals, for example, to throw into massive studies. So that's just a factor worth considering. But some people do find this works. It is hit or miss, either by taking a daily spoonful of honey, or bee pollen is another option. But I would say two things if you're trying it. One, it should be local honey. And the thinking is that you're getting tiny amounts of that local pollen to help your body get used to it, kind of like a mini vaccine almost. And two, for this concept to really work, you want to start the honey weeks before allergy season hits. And this is where normally we drop the ball because we just forget until we're in it.
Right.
But for allergies and natural solutions especially, getting your body prepared beforehand is the key. But honey and bee pollen, it is really good for you anyway, so there's no harm in trying. But if you want to test this theory out, remember it next year. Remember when you had allergies like this year, and think 2 to 4 weeks beforehand. Start taking the honey, and the other factor is consistency. A little spoonful every day, 2 to 4 weeks before allergy season hits. And it might work or it might not, but either way, honey's delicious, so you're good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, up next in the Kyle Files is Raymond in Calgary, who has heard adding bananas to a blueberry smoothie reduces the nutrition. What's the deal?
Isn't that wild? I bring all the good news. And this is actually kind of true. So blueberries are high in flavonols and in polyphenols, right? Which are antioxidants that are really, really good for us. We know that blueberries are amazing. Bananas, especially ripe bananas, contain an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase, which can break down these polyphenols and reduce their availability. And people started talking about this, especially on social media, because a small study did find that the combination of the two does reduce the amount of polyphenols you could be getting by having the blueberries on their own. You're still getting a ton of nutrition. It's not all or nothing, but maybe you're not getting as much. And if you're spending a lot on blueberries and you really care about getting everything for them, just opt to not have the banana. Or there is a caveat that people don't talk about. And Jeff, you'll love this.
Okay.
Green bananas, which we've talked about on the show, contain way less of this enzyme. So this enzyme increases as the banana ripens. So a brown banana would be kind of the worst in this case scenario. But you're not having it with, and there's still nutrients in that, but it's the combination of the two, the brown banana and the blueberries, that really is the issue. But if you want to have your cake and eat it too, I know green bananas are delicious. You can add a green banana to the blueberry smoothie to add some thickness and also get some prebiotics in there as well.
And where does the cake fit in?
The cake fits in after the smoothie. You feel good that you ate the smoothie, and then you open up the cake and go for it.
You're the one who threw cake.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Does it reduce the nutritional value of blueberries?
You know what? I would say, yeah. I mean, slightly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Polly in North Bay, Ontario asks, is agave a healthy sugar substitute? Or is honey, back to honey, more beneficial teaspoon for teaspoon?
What do we think? Honey or agave?
I think honey.
I say agave.
I would say honey. So agave, if we're being honest, is not my favorite.
Okay.
Agave was a big hit for a while because it reportedly had a lower glycemic index than regular sugar, so it had less of a blood sugar impact. But the devil's in the details. So honey, sweeteners like sugar, agave are made up in part of glucose and fructose, but it's the ratio of the two that make the impact. Agave contains less glucose than sugar or honey, which is why it had less of a blood sugar impact, but it's way higher in fructose, which gets processed by the liver and can cause issues in excess and inflammation long term. We do want to limit fructose outside of anything other than fruit. So from a holistic view of agave, it's not my favorite for this reason. Honey would be the better choice, but if you're trying to watch your sugar intake, stevia or monk fruit would be a better alternative.
See, I knew all that.
Yeah.
I answered honey. Okay. From Ajax, Ontario, here is Ruth, who says that she's heard too much protein is bad for her bones. Kyle, is that true?
This is not true, so don't worry. But this is a common misconception, and there was a time when we thought that maybe too much protein might be bad for our bones, because what they were finding was the more protein consumed, the more calcium was found in our pee. So they thought that maybe the body's pulling calcium from our bones when you digest the protein to buffer it, or the other theory was that since a lot of the studies included dairy, maybe it was just the extra calcium from the dairy being peed out. But as it turns out, what they found was that increased protein actually improves our body's ability to absorb the calcium from our diet. So we're getting more calciums from the food we eat, holding on to it, and then excreting what we no longer need. It is a myth. Protein's okay, and either has a neutral or protective effect on bone health.
All right.
Yeah.
If you've got a question, be sure to send Kyle a message on Instagram at @It'sKyleB. We're closing the Kyle Files for another week. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, you too.